And that's what we're trying to do for the bailout. What we need to do is we need to have the citizens work together. And Mr. Obey talks about his stimulus package. He should have done that 39 years ago for the 7th District. I don't see a lot of stimulus there. His evidence of what's happened is not there. I don't like the fact that we're not growing at the same rate as the rest of the nation. I don't like the fact that we're putting out this money and we're getting nothing in return for it. I believe we need to start working and focusing maybe more on representing our district than trying to conquer the world's problems. We're a country, a sovereign nation, and I don't believe it's our right or purpose to be meddling in other nations and spending money there when we have our own problems at home.
Herbert Hoover's answer was the same as Mr. Mielke's. Do nothing.
Smart man.
Don't inject. Herbert Hoover, well, we've got a real different view of history.
Obviously.
I would simply say, if we can put aside the shibboleths for a moment, the fact is that we have a crucial choice to make. This economy is about to go in the tank. We can sit by and talk political philosophy, or we can try to inject some help into the economy to help consumer spending. If the consumers quit spending and if the banks quit lending, this economy is going to see the most protracted recession, at least since the Reagan era,
the
and
problem,
possibly
Dave, is you're subsidizing
back to
again.
the 30s.
You're subsidizing.
Put any label you want on it. We need to take action, and
not that way. We don't spend money we don't have.
Then give us some concrete alternatives.
Maybe get Congress out of the way so business and industry can do their job. Maybe quit meddling in people's affairs and try to get it done. Congress, for the longest time,
just like we got the regulators out of the way the last 20 years, and now we're paying the price.
We need new blood in Congress.
Because government took the umpire off the field. It took the referee off the field. And so these high-flying boys on Wall Street invented all of these new instruments, and now the country's paying a price because they didn't understand them. They didn't have the capital reserves in order to make them work.
We talked about this
put the whole country
30 years ago. You never did anything about it. People have warned that this was coming. They said it was coming. Congress did nothing.
Well, with all due respect, you've been squawking for the last 20 minutes about what Congress did do. Which side of the argument are you on? You can't be on both sides at the same time.
Their side, not your side. The situation
Why don't you take one side of the issue? You said Congress shouldn't do anything. Now you're saying Congress should do something.
I'm saying get out of the way is doing something? Yeah, I guess you're right.
Getting out of the way is what the regulatory agencies did under Reagan and under Bush, and we're paying a terrible price for that now.
We're out of time for this segment.
The war in Iraq is now 5.5 years old, and the New York Times recently quoted Iraqi officials saying the country and the U.S. are getting closer to a security deal that has U.S. soldiers leaving Iraqi towns and cities by next summer, as well as pulling out of the country altogether in the year 2011. My question to both of you is, what is the U.S.'s role in Iraq between now and those two dates, and what should our role be following that?
Well, let me simply say that Mr. Mielke has said that I'm guilty of treason because I've had the temerity to oppose the war in Iraq. And he thinks that makes me a traitor. The fact is, I am proud of the fact that I opposed this war from the start. I'm proud of the fact that I was the first member of Congress to call for Donald Rumsfeld's resignation. I'm proud of the fact that the U.S. Army Association gave me their Legislator of the Year award for the work that Jack Murtha and I and my committee did in seeing to it that our troops had equipment that they needed that they weren't getting, like the right Kevlar inserts for their body armor, like up-armored Humvees and other items that they were not getting in the initial stages of the war. The fact is that the House passed twice my bill, which tried to set a timeline for our withdrawal of American troops from a combat situation. The White House said a timeline was irresponsible. Now they're negotiating with the Iraqis a new agreement under which they establish a time horizon. If you can tell me the difference between a time horizon and a timeline, you're a whole lot smarter than I am. We need to let the Iraqis know that we have a goal for leaving by such and such a date. That has to be a flexible goal, but unless we set that goal, we're never going to get our troops out of there.
Dan Mielke, you have 90 seconds.
The time to make decisions about a war before we start it, not afterwards, not during it. When we make a decision to send our troops into battle, that decision has been turned over to them, and Congress needs to get their nose out of it. The war, once our soldiers are on the ground, it's our responsibility to back them and support those troops. Yes, I have a real problem with people who, once the issue has been settled and the troops have been sent, to turn around and undermine the effort, to call it an illegal war, or to say that we need to cut funding to stop the war, as Mr. Obey tried to do, running out of people to kill, as Mr. Obey said. I don't believe that gives support to our troops. I don't believe that enhances their zeal to go forth. We've faced this problem in Obey's career quite a few times, even prior to that with Vietnam. There comes a time when the vote has been made and the decision is made, you uphold that, and you honor those troops, and you respect them. It's a situation where we have to work with the people. And to say that Congress has the ability to set the time when we withdraw, to me, is crazy. Once a war has started, you finish the job. You don't bail out when you run out of time. You have to do the job. You have to fulfill your commitments. And that's a problem. Congress has lost that ability of trying to honor their commitments. They bail out and they run here and they run there, but they don't stick with it. And I think that's a problem.
And Todd Hicks, do you have a follow-up?
How would you suggest we, the American people and government, rebuild the American military after coming back home?
Let me say, first of all, the last time I looked, the Congress was given by the Constitution the power of the purse. And when we differ with the President in foreign affairs, that's the only tool that we have to try to get the President to change his position. I deeply believe that you would not see the administration today negotiating a time horizon with Iraq if we had not put pressure on the administration for the past 2 years in order to set some kind of a timetable for withdrawing. That war was the dumbest war in American history. It is the biggest mistake we have made in foreign policy in my lifetime. That has nothing whatsoever to do with the troops. The troops have performed magnificently.
You're telling the troops that they're over there fighting a dumb, stupid war. Mr. Obey,
they are stuck. They are stuck doing just that.
Then you're the one that sent them there.
With all due respect, I voted against the war. I didn't send them there.
Once the decision is made,
if you want to talk about the troops, yours truly is the fellow who pushed through the House the legislation expanding the GI Bill of Rights, the biggest expansion of GI Bill of Rights for education purposes in the history of the program. I honor them when they go, when they're there, when they come back.
You undermine that.
We have an obligation to distinguish between support for the troops and support for a stupid war. This war has cost us $600 billion. It's well on the way to cost us.
How does the enemy take it?
It's well on the way to costing us $2 trillion.
Hey, Washington thinks it's a stupid
war. We're doing a good job. And we are financing Iraqi reconstruction while they've got a $60 billion surplus and we've got a $450 billion deficit. That makes no sense.
Small compared to the $500 billion, the $700 billion you want to get out. And now you want to double that. You complained about the cost of the war, but you don't have a problem spending $1.5 trillion to bail out something you can't bail out. The boat's got a hole in it.
With all due respect, we've been over that ground. The President said we had an emergency. I think he knew what he was talking about. One of the rare occasions when I think he did.
That's my point. With all due respect, we don't discuss that issue and we accept it. But when it comes to the military, we can go and undermine it and talk negatively about it when they're overseas.
You don't undermine the troops by getting them out of a dumb war. They have performed magnificently. They'll be there forever if we leave it up to people like you.
And maybe when they come home, they'll come home with pride instead of having problems dealing with the issue.
They can come home with pride anytime. They can come home with pride anytime. They have done a magnificent job. We won the situation militarily. We have lost it politically because we have allowed the Iraqis. We have allowed the Iraqis to continue to fight their little dunghill jurisdictional fights every day, instead of working out compromises so that we can get those troops out of there.
You're right. It's politics that caused the problem.
If you want to take the Bush position that we should stay there, if you want to take the Bush position that we should stay in Iraq forever, be my guest. I don't happen to agree.
I believe we finished the job.
And I don't agree that the Congress has an obligation to stop thinking once a mistake is made by the executive.
But they can keep their mouth shut publicly.
The time is up. We're going to move on to Mark Baldwin.